Uh, Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Community Emissions Reduction Plan Public Workshop. Um, we are going to be going through some interpretation slides first before we go into any welcome and presentation. So with that, I will pass it over to Catherine.
Hi, everyone. So we're going to go through the following interpretation slides first so that those who need it can follow these instructions. And we'll be going over these in Spanish, Farsi, Hmong, and Vietnamese as well. But in the English version, I just want to say that if you need interpretation, please join the Zoom meeting room by clicking the interpretation icon in the red circle here. And it's like a globe icon. You can also mute the original audio and select the language of your choice. Just to give everyone a heads up that each of the different language PowerPoints have been dropped in the chat. So if you need those, they are accessible there. And I will be referencing slide numbers throughout the presentation so that the other interpretation channels can follow along. At this time, I'm going to pass it to each of the interpreters so that they can go over these slides as well. And once we complete going through these slides, we'll open up the channels so that if you need to join any of the other channels, we have some time for you to do that. Okay, so I will first pass it to Arecia for the Spanish interpretation.
Thank you, Catherine. Para acceder a un intérprete, únase a una reunión virtual usando la app de Zoom o de escritorio o teléfono y haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que es un planeta. En una computadora, revise la parte inferior de la ventana de Zoom para hacer clic en el icono de interpretación. En el teléfono toque la pantalla para ver más de los controles y luego toque el menú donde dice más, que tiene 3 punticos. Elija su canal de idioma, silencie el audio original y asegúrese de utilizar la aplicación en la aplicación de Zoom, no en un navegador, y asegúrese de utilizar la versión más reciente de Zoom.
Okay, and then I will go ahead and pass it to Bong for the Vietnamese translation.
Dạ, xin kính chào quý vị và các bạn đã tham gia vào chương trình ngày hôm nay. Chương trình ngày hôm nay sẽ có thông dịch viên tiếng Việt. Nếu quý vị tham gia buổi họp trực tuyến bằng máy vi tính hoặc máy tính để bàn hoặc thiết bị di động và dùng ừm, phần mềm Zoom thì quý vị có thể nhấp vào cái biểu tượng thông dịch hình quả địa cầu ở đây. Nếu mà ở trên máy tính thì quý vị có thể nhìn vào phía dưới cùng của cửa sổ Zoom hoặc trên điện thoại di động và các thiết bị di động thì mình có thể chạm vào màn hình để hiển thị các nút điều khiển. Sau đó thì bấm vào danh sách và chọn More. Trong đó thì sẽ có kênh thông tin về ngôn ngữ của quý vị cũng như là quý vị có thể tắt cái âm thanh gốc bằng tiếng Anh đi để nghe tiếng Việt. Và có một cái mẹo nhỏ ở đây là đảm bảo rằng quý vị sử dụng ứng dụng Zoom chứ không phải là trình duyệt web và đảm bảo rằng quý vị đang sử dụng phiên bản Zoom là mới nhất và tiếp theo sẽ là ngôn ngữ khác.
Okay, and I'll pass it to May for the Hmong translation.
Cái sĩ cái một sĩ tao từ cứ chạy lộ ý công lu trong sĩ thả họ online chỉ hai sĩ dùng họ computer là sĩ họ sở tông ở nhị trò lu chỉ interpretation chạy lộ từ đua luôn địa tê họ computer sai từ đua lu chỉ dùng window hồ sơ tông tàu trâu nát trò cỏ bỏ cho chờ chữ bê tàu trâu more thiên minh nhiều bao xa sai có họ lộ có lúc xua su thơ lục kia vừa chủ sĩ lúc ép dừng chỉ do lúc chờ đầu kết về sai vừa chủ do có sử dụng lúc chia chập lời.
Okay, then I will pass it to Roya for the Farsi translation.
دسترسی به مترجم. وارد جلسه مجازی زوم با نسخه دسکتاپ یا برنامه همراه بشوید. روی نماد ترجمه یا به شکل کره زمین کلیک کنید. در نسخه دسکتاپ به قسمت پایین پنجره زوم بروید. در تلفن همراه صفحه را لمس کنید تا دکمه‌های کنترل ظاهر شود. سپس منیو یا قسمت مور بیشتر را لمس کنید. کانال زبان خود را انتخاب کنید. صدای اصلی را قطع کنید. نکات مهم: حتما از برنامه زوم و نه مرورگر استفاده کنید. و حتما از تازه ترین نسخه زوم استفاده کنید.
Okay. So at this time, we want to give a few minutes for people to join their language translation rooms that if needed. And then we will get started with the welcoming remarks.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Community Air Protection Community Emission Reductions Plan Workshop. My name is Janice Lamb-Snyder, and I'm the director of the Community Air Protection Program at the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. We really appreciate all of you joining us today, this Saturday morning. Your feedback and participation is very crucial and important part of this process. And so later I'm going to be turning it over to Catherine to provide the presentation. But before we do that, I would like to introduce to you one of our co-leads of our AB 617 steering committee, Roberto Rizzo, who to say a few words.
Thank you, Janice. Good morning, everyone. My name is Roberto Rizzo. I'm a resident member of the committee. I want to say thank you first of all for joining us today. This is a huge effort on the committee. We've been working on this for over a year now, and having you here and having your input, it's crucial for us to be able to do a good job ultimately at representing our neighborhoods and the areas where we live, and also in supporting the district to be able to do what they do here in Sacramento, which is help us clean up the air. So the main thing that I would like to emphasize and for you to pay attention to is that we're gonna share the CERP. The CERP is a big document, but there's a lot of good information in there. And if you find that you're having a hard time, you can always reach out to us. And also you could always just look at the strategies that we worked on, which is the main thing that we need to be making decisions on. So we're here for you. Thank you for joining, and please join one of the public meetings that we have every month. We also have CERP meetings where we only focus on how we're developing this community emissions reduction plan. In the first Monday of every month, and then we have an outreach meeting the third Monday of every month. So please join us, welcome, and we're here for you. Thank you.
Okay, I can get started on the presentation. So good morning, everyone. My name is Catherine Chin Chu, and I work with the Community Air Protection Program here at Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. And for those who are unaware, the district is the local regulatory air quality agency that ensures that we meet federal and state air quality health standards. So today's workshop is an opportunity to share information about the Draft Community Emissions Reduction Plan, also referred to as the CERP. This plan is intended to reduce air pollution emissions and exposure in the community to support healthier and safer neighborhoods, especially for those most impacted by pollution. We will also share about the plan development process with the community and what to expect next. To help keep us on track and be effective with our time together, I'd kindly like to ask you all to please note down any questions that may come up during the presentations and hold them for after the presentation when we will have dedicated time for questions and comments. Okay, so going on to slide 7 here. First, I'd like to give some background on the program. In 2017, California Assembly Bill, or AB 617, was signed into law, which led to the creation of the Community Air Protection Program. In 2018, the state selected communities to participate in this program, and South Sacramento Florin was selected as one of the first 10 communities, and specifically to develop a community air monitoring plan. While we've seen concentrations trend down regionally over the past several decades, there are still communities that may be overburdened by air pollution. And what this program did was brought the focus to community level issues and brought funding to monitor local air quality and to reduce community emissions and exposure. Currently, there are 19 communities throughout the state of California that have been selected to develop plans for air monitoring and for developing strategies to reduce emissions and exposure. You can see these 19 communities in the map to the left, and South Sacramento Florin is the one that's circled up above. Okay, moving on to slide 8. About a year and a half ago, the state designated the South Sacramento Florin community to develop a community emissions reduction program, or a CERP plan, to submit to the state. This is an action plan meant to improve air quality through emissions and exposure reductions. Since then, we've been working closely with a group of steering committee members that consists of residents, those who represent a community organization or business within the community, to develop strategies and actions to be included in the CERP. From the moment of being designated, we have 2 years to develop the CERP, including the strategies and actions that go into it. And right now we are working on getting comments on the plan, and we'll be sharing with you all how to provide your comments later in the presentation. The plan will then need Air District Board approval before being submitted to the state for approval. Once the CERP is approved by the state, this begins the 5-year implementation timeline for implementing the strategies that are written into the plan. Moving on to slide 9. When designated, the steering committee first wanted to determine the boundaries. They wanted to consider expanding it, as the original boundary for the air monitoring plan covered a smaller footprint compared to what you see here on the slide. They wanted to expand it and also consider adjacent areas that have been previously nominated but not selected to participate as part of this program. So as part of this decision-making process, the steering committee, district staff, local and state leaders, as well as elected officials attended an all-electric community bus tour so that the steering committee can share their lived experiences within the community, such as those regarding air pollution concerns, sources, and areas of concern. And before the boundaries were finalized, a lot of outreach was conducted in the community to see if there was support for the expansion. With community and steering committee support, the CERP boundary was finalized to what you see here on the slide in the center image. Moving to slide 10. To share what the plan development process looked like, there were some foundational and technical information that was provided to the steering committee to help with the development process. And this included the state developing and sharing the community emissions inventory, which helps identify where emissions are more concentrated than others within the community. The district then shared monitoring data that was collected within the community and then brainstormed with the community on strategies that they might want to see for the South Sacramento Florin community. As we shared earlier, 18 other communities have also developed a CERP. So we took the best practices improved by other plans as a starting point for discussion. Moving to slide 11. In the plan, you will see a discussion about the different sources and air pollutants. And we also wanted to talk about that today to help build a better understanding of where air pollution in the community can come from. And this understanding helps shape strategies to reduce emissions and exposure from these everyday sources to improve local air quality. One air pollutant that you may have heard of that's important to the Sacramento region is ground level ozone, which is also known as smog. And this is created when oxides of nitrogen react with volatile organic compounds in the presence of sunlight. Some sources of nitrogen oxides include vehicle exhaust, engine exhaust, residential wood burning, and construction equipment. Some sources of volatile organic compounds include paints and solvents, residential wood burning, wildfire smoke, vehicle exhaust, gas-powered lawn and garden equipment, to name a few. We also monitored for ozone within the community at Fern Bacon Middle School, which is shown in the orange lines on this chart. And you can see that it tracks similarly to the concentrations that we see regionally at the other air monitoring stations in the county. However, it's still important to recognize that local communities can still be impacted by these concentrations. Moving to slide 13. Another important air pollutant to the Sacramento region is particulate matter, which are small particles that can be suspended in air and breathed in and impact health. Some sources of particulate matter include vehicle exhaust, residential wood burning, wildfire smoke, construction and demolition activities, cooking. And diesel particulate matter is a type of particulate that comes from diesel fuel exhaust, such as from diesel-powered trucks and engines and backup generators, locomotives, and construction equipment. Moving to slide 14. Again, you can see that the community concentrations measured at Fern Bacon Middle School in the orange behave similarly to the regional monitors. However, it's important to note that we can see impacts of events such as wildfire smoke that increase concentrations above the federal health standard. In the plan, you'll see more discussion of these pollutants and be able to read more about that. Moving to slide 15. Also in the plan, there are also chapters that describe the process of how these strategies were developed. The steering committee developed the strategies in 4 teams, the first one being urban planning and mobile sources, the second team residential sources, commercial sources, and outreach. At the October 15th, 2025 event, The Air We Share, a community conversation, the steering committee members and members of the public who were involved throughout the process shared the information with community members to gather community feedback and to see if there was support for the strategies. The steering committee members then took this feedback into consideration as they prioritize which strategies they would like to get started on first. Since we can't work on all of the strategies at once, they needed to prioritize the ones that they wanted to see happen first. And in the plan, there's additional discussion on the strategy prioritization process. Moving to slide 16. So a total of 28 strategies were developed. The ones listed on this slide here are the strategies developed in the urban planning and mobile sources group. Some strategies developed here include increasing tree canopy, industrial warehouse zoning, and safe and resilient streets. Moving to slide 17. This slide here shows the CERP strategies developed in the commercial sources group in the left column, and this includes public information portal, increasing education for nail and hair salons, and business education. The residential strategies are in the center column and include lawn and garden equipment and electrification of household appliances, to name a few. And finally, the outreach strategies are in the right column, and they include participating in outreach events and promoting air quality education in schools. Moving to slide 18. As mentioned earlier, due to the inability of doing everything at once and limitations in funding, the steering committee needed to prioritize the strategies. The district is continuously working with the state to get more funding, but with what we have now, the steering committee prioritized the strategies to determine which strategies they would like implemented first. This resulted in 3 priority groupings that you see on the slide here. We believe we can implement all the strategies in priority group 1, along with the first strategy in priority group 2, the business education strategy. As additional funding becomes available, the next set of strategies in priority group 2 will be implemented. And then following that, the strategies that are in the priority 3 group. Moving to slide 19, some strategies also require incentives funding. Based on the known funding for the community air protection or CAP incentives of 4.7 million, half of this amount is dedicated to this particular program to be invested into South Sacramento Florin. What you see on the slide here are the funding targets set by the steering committee using an activity called participatory budgeting. This was a process where steering committee members and members of the public were given stickers that represented a certain dollar amount, and they placed these stickers on the strategies of where they wanted to invest their dollars. This slide shows the results of that activity, and it's important to note that once additional funding becomes available, we will be having additional discussions with the steering committee on how they would like to allocate those funds and invest in each of the strategies. Moving to slide 20. As of right now, the complete draft CERP is available on the district's website, and the public comment period is currently open until February 15th. If you scan the QR code to the right, it will take you to the dedicated Air District webpage with links to the draft plan and instructions on how to submit a public comment. We also recognize that this plan is a very technical document with a lot of information, so our team has also worked on different ways to enhance accessibility of the plan. And so also available on this QR code, we created a website called a story map that summarizes the plan. And again, the plan is out for public comment, and we ask that the Air District receive comments by February 15th. Once we get those comments, the district and the steering committee will review and address these comments. moving to slide 21. To make it easier to get to the different versions of the strategies available, you can follow these QR codes of just the strategies from the plan in each of the following languages: English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Hmong, Farsi, as well as a screen reader version for those who are visually impaired. We have posted the draft Farsi strategies, which is still undergoing review with the interpreters, but we wanted to have a version available. The updated version will be posted next week. On to slide 22. For the next steps, the public comment period, as mentioned, closes on February 15th, and the district and steering committee will work together to address these comments and incorporate them to the draft plan. And the steering committee will then consider approval of the final plan in March. At the end of May, the Air District Board will consider approval, and then finally in July, the state will consider approval of the CERP. Okay, this concludes our presentation, and I really appreciate you all being here today to hear the presentation and bring any questions or comments that you would like to bring up. At this time, we would like to open up the room for any questions and comments. And because of technical logistics with Zoom, we're going to be taking comments in the order of English, then questions from the Spanish channel, then questions from the Vietnamese channel, the Hmong channel, and then the Farsi channel. This is the first time we are having so many languages interpreted at once, so we kindly ask for everyone's patience to make sure that we can effectively get to everyone's questions and comments. At this time, if you do have any questions in the English channel first, please raise your hand in the Zoom app. If you are calling in, *9 is to raise your hand and *6 is to unmute your microphone. And I will pass it all to you. If you all have any questions, feel free to raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm trying. This is Jesse Reese. I'm trying to look for your raise hand symbol here for a question.
Yes.
Yep, we can go ahead and take your question first, Jesse.
Okay. Going back in history when we was talking about air pollution, I know years ago they was talking about the airport and things like that. I don't hear that's coming up in the conversations now. Do you know anything about that as far as pollutants that is generated by the airplanes at the airport?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Jesse. So airport actually regularly comes up at our steering committee meetings. The main pollutant that is associated with an airport that is, at the SAC Executive Airport, the main concern would be lead from aviation fuel. And so one of the things that the steering committee had discussed was about the next monitoring location, which one of the locations were near the Sacramento Executive Airport. We're still analyzing and trying to determine where that monitoring portable lab will be. And so that is one of the things that we're looking at in terms of monitoring. In terms of the pollutant from or the source of aviation fuel, that is not regulated by, we don't, at the Sacramento Local Air Quality District, we don't have the authority to regulate aviation fuel. However, with that said, we know that I think it was, I want to say a year ago or 2 years ago, the federal government had made an endangerment finding of lead from aviation, avgas, aviation fuel, and they're in the process of in the process of should be like addressing lead from aviation fuel. Brian, do you have anything maybe you want to add to that?
I know, hey everyone, this is Brian Moore. I work with the Air Resources Board, so at the state level, and Janice is correct. In general, boats and planes, the emissions from those are controlled by the federal government. So the state and the air district aren't able to regulate those. And the federal government, yes, because of changes in administration, it's been kind of up in the air where they are with these regulations. But the U.S. EPA is the body that regulates aviation fuel.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, and one more real quick while I have you is you said you're doing an all electric tour on the school bus. And what areas did you encompass on this tour? And also the old school buses seemed like to me they were running pretty rampant with bad exhaust. So was the bus that you taken, was that an all electric bus? I hear they do have some in the school district, some electric buses.
Yes, thank you, Jesse, for that question. We have a whole route that was mapped that we're going to try to find right now on our website and post them in the chat. But I'm going to kick it over to the Director of Transportation and Climate Change, Jaime, and or his designee.
Hi, good morning. That's a great question. And yes, so one of the things that here in the Sacramento region that not a lot of people know is that we have the largest electric school bus fleet here in the nation. We have lots of school districts that actually every school district, not just in Sacramento County, but here in the region that has electric school buses now. And so we are continuing to invest in schools, continuing to invest in electric school buses, continuing to invest in the infrastructure for the schools to continue to grow their fleets. And so not only that, but also even our public transportation. We are also working with the regional transits to ensure that the buses get cleaner and cleaner.
Okay, I don't want to hog up the whole airways, but one more real quick is this is probably uncontrollable, but when you're talking about polluting, they said we had quite a bit of pollutants when you're talking about drive-through windows, when people are just sitting there idling, when you see a line of cars at McDonald's just sitting there idling for minutes, waiting to order, even though I know some of the vehicles are newer vehicles and some are also electric vehicles, but you also have a great deal of them are just pollutants. So I know that's probably hard to control, but that's something to think about.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Again, another great question, and again, another effort that we are constantly working on. I'm really proud to say that here within the Sacramento District, we have some of the best planners within our agency, and our planners or our urban planners work with the local jurisdictions, the city of Sacramento, city of Elk Grove, and Sacramento County, and all the other planners for the other cities to make our communities better and to make them more walkable, to make them more bikeable friend or more bike friendly. But on top of that, many of but when there's a project that's going to be developed, like for instance, we're going to have, a McDonald's with a drive-through, or even a quick crack car wash, or anything like that has a focus on being car centric. Our staff provide lots of comments to the local jurisdiction to ensure that those developments could be built in the best possible way, not only for safety, but so that they could be also with a canopy, like with trees or some kind of shade, right, to reduce the urban heat island impact, but also to reduce vehicle miles traveled, or to reduce congestion, or to ensure that that cars will be maneuvering in a better way, so that their idling is reduced. I'd like to pass it on over to the Transportation and Climate Change manager, Paul Philly, who works in our division and really leads a robust group of planners for our region.
Thank you, Jaime. So there's lots of different ways that we try to get at idling of light duty vehicles. The most obvious way is just to clean up the vehicles. So one program that we're really proud of here at SAC Metro, which is funded by Air Resources Board, is Clean Cars for All, where the older, more polluting cars in the community can be scrapped, and then you can get up to $12,000 for a new, cleaner electric vehicle. If you don't want to drive a vehicle, let's say you're an older person, you're getting ready to maybe not have a license anymore. Instead of getting a vehicle, you could turn it into a couple of e-bikes, or we can get you a mobility card so you can pay for paratransit, SAC-RT, car share, whatever you might need to get around so that you don't have to have a vehicle. And then Jaime's right, we do work with our jurisdictions to try and make it so that the idling is as far away from people, houses, sensitive receptors as possible. And we also try to make sure that things that don't need drive-throughs don't have drive-throughs. So really a big focus on walkability, transit, and comfortability, especially in these impacted neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for all your questions, Jesse. Well, at this time, I don't see any more hands raised for questions. Oh, Laurel.
Hi, Janice. I was just wondering if you could mention what are the best ways that residents and community-based organizations could support the implementation of these strategies once, it goes through the approval process and you guys are starting to implement things. How can we stay involved past that process?
Oh, yes, that's great. So once the plan has been adopted, there still needs to be a lot of decisions that needs to be made to implement a lot of these projects. So some of the information that we're going to be looking for moving into the 5 years of implementation is, if we're talking specifically about projects, like we would like for the members of the public or steering committee members to discuss about the specifics of those particular strategies. So I would encourage everyone to continue to come to our steering committee meetings, as well as our probably subcommittee meetings moving forward, in talking more specifically on projects on the ground to implement any particular strategy. Does that answer your question, Laurel?
Yeah, thank you.
And then I think I'll also just add that, there's a lot of work that is currently a lot of good work, right? That a lot of nonprofits or community-based organizations are probably doing now that have a nexus with some of the strategies that this draft CERP has proposed. And we definitely want to ensure how our efforts can enhance each other's work as well. And so I would also encourage the CBOs and nonprofits to, continue to engage with us on how we can support and leverage each other's work. So with that, Catherine, do you want to move to different languages I don't know if there's any hands raised for other folks.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any hand raised, but if there's any questions for the Spanish channel, please raise your hand. Any questions for the Vietnamese channel? Any questions from the Hmong channel? or any questions from the Farsi channel? I don't see any hands raised.
Right. Well, with that, we are technically scheduled to be here until 12. And so we are going to continue to stay available for members of the public. Staff will stay available, interpreters will stay available for those who may be hopping on until the noon hour. For those members of the public who are joining us, we have completed our presentation, and if we have answered a lot of your questions or provided for you to provide your public comment, you're free to drop off. The video of this, or the recording of this meeting is going to be posted onto our website. So if you need to go back and use it as a reference, send it to your friends and family and community members, please feel free to do so. All right, so Jesse and some of our steering committee members, you can welcome to stay, or happy to provide for about 45 minutes back of your time.
Okay.
See?
I still like to know how to get on that. I have it open up here on my phone and trying to get to the area where you provide public comments. There's so much stuff there that I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm starting with the community emission reduction plan, South Sacramento. Then it says scroll down to different programs through the story map, then introduction. So I'm trying to get to the part where I can provide public comments.
Yeah, let's go ahead and just walk through that. Can somebody pull up yes. So Jesse, this is our community air protection page. So this is where we have posted our public comment. In order to provide public comments, all you really have to do is send an email to our clerk email. So whatever your comment would be, go ahead and put AB617 clerk@airquality.org by February 15th, and we'll take that as part of the we will have that as part of your written comments.
Right. So I guess what I'm asking, can I get there through this QR code that I got from your sheet the other day? That's what I'm trying to do, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. It is open, it's currently open for public comments. Then I scroll down to South Sacramento flooring. And do I keep scrolling? I still don't see what you just showed me. Partnership and engagement, community profile, technical foundation, ongoing efforts.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at it on my cell phone. That might be a difference. I don't know.
Yeah. So are you on the story map?
I see where it said partnership and engagement, and this coming from your QR code that you had for your Zoom meeting.
Okay. Yeah. So the QR code is for the summarized version of the plan. You do need to go to the public. You need to go to the public notice. So what you see on the screen here.
Let me.
And we can can somebody drop the public notice into the chat, please? Yeah.
Can you hold that for a minute? I'm gonna try to take a quick picture of it.
Okay.
Then I'll spend some time looking for it.
Jesse, one of my team members also dropped a link on the Air District's, the public notice on the Air District's website. So Catherine, why don't you go ahead and click on that link? Yeah. So once you click on there, it'll bring you to this page. Where
Okay. I'll give it a shot.
And you can always, yeah, so really the key is to make sure you have the AB 617 clerk at airquality.org.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you send an email to that and we'll collect those comments and discuss them with the steering committee.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Okay, well, I'm gonna drop off and it'll pleasure. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your morning.
Okay, you too.
All right. So, like I mentioned earlier, we are open until 12. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. Our team will continue to monitor for any new public members that are attending. We are asking for staff to stay on, as well as the interpreter until the noon timeframe. Any closing thoughts from our steering committee members? I see Richard, you are still on. All right. All right, folks.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Couldn't find the mute button. My apologies.
All right, with that, we'll all kind of just hang out until the noon time frame. And then if we see anybody come on, we will let everybody know. And we'll see if we can answer any questions at that point. Catherine, could you please pull up the public comment slide? Because that is the agenda item that we're on. And then just leave that up. All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and the last slide, yeah. The last slide, Catherine. Yeah, that one. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and come off camera, as well as go on mute until we see any additional members of the public come on. Hi, folks. I'm back. It looks like it's going to be noon in just under a minute. So we'll be closing out at noon. So we'll have some closing remarks for that. Right, it is 12 o'clock and it is the end of we reached a time at the end of our CERP workshop, our Community Emission Reduction Plan workshop. And so I wanted to thank everybody that came and the staff and as well as the interpreters providing this access for our community members. We're going to be posting the recordings to our website, so that'll still be accessible to community members at a later time. But really want to thank everybody for their time and hope you all have a good weekend. Bye, everyone.